This week I ran into Julie Crabtree, and I like Julie Crabtree good well enough. She's a lovely person, but she's somebody who I describe as not my best friend. As I've told a lot of my church stories, I've heard myself say that more than once, describing someone as not my best friend, and I'm not really sure why that is, but maybe that's why I was always happy to be the last person to leave coffee hour each Sunday because I never wanted to turn my back on that Sunday morning crowd. And probably I suspect that God is similar in that regard. He's smart enough to know that probably better not turn his back on us because given a chance, we're very likely to conspire against him. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith. At Sunday Coffee Hour, we talk about everything and nothing. This Sunday, we talked about centering both sides, both hemispheres of your brain with a special tapping the chest technique, and we talked about qualifying to be dead, and that just because something you don't feel something or doesn't affect you doesn't mean it's not affecting you. The readings this week were from Isaiah, that we shouldn't judge by simply by what we see and hear, and from Romans that we're prodded to live with each other in harmony. And the gospel reading was about the command, "Depart from me, you brood of vipers." I mean, wow, kind of says it all. But my story with Julie Crabtree was so interesting because some weeks ago, someone at Coffee Hour mentioned that they had talked to Julie Crabtree and that Julie had given the idea that she wasn't particularly happy with the direction of the church either, which is ironic because, of course, Julie was the head of the pastoral search committee. I thought that was intriguing, but at Coffee Hour, we don't have topics, we don't have questions, we don't have discussion points, but and we certainly try not to gossip or have anything salacious. But that caught my attention as being a little salacious, but I let it go by. A couple weeks later, though, this same person said they had run into Julie Crabtree again, and Julie had shared that she believed that Shannon had misrepresented herself to the search committee, presenting herself as something other than what she was. And that when she got the job, she proceeded to do and go in a direction opposite of what she had led the committee to believe was her intent. That to me was a little bit more than salacious. That was like gasoline on a fire, and it set my small mind racing. I thought, now this is something I would need to track down. I cannot hear this secondhand because it's not anything I could repeat in good faith without really having heard it or seen it myself. I spent a good part of Thanksgiving and the following week going around and around in my mind, like how would that conversation really go? Would I call Julie? Would I email Julie? And really, what and how would I even ask or broach that topic? How would that conversation go? And after a week and a half of rolling it around in my mind, it came to me. The answer came to me. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to have a conversation with Julie Crabtree because I don't need to have a conversation with her. Julie's a smart person. She can see the results of what happened. And I don't need an answer. I have my answer and I'm at peace with what is. I don't need an answer to that question. And I put it to rest. But this week, as luck would have it, I had a project in a residential neighborhood, and I got out of the car at this location and set about my business. And the next thing I knew, someone was walking really quickly over to me saying, "Stanley, Stanley." This person walked up to me and said, "It's me, Julie Crabtree." Julie lived next door to the place I was visiting, and I was actually delighted. I said, "Oh my God, Julie, this is so funny, and I'm so happy to see you." I said, I have spent the last week and a half going around and around in my mind about this question I needed to ask Julie Crabtree. But I said, I had already decided that I didn't need to ask you. And I said, so I'm so happy to be here, not talking to you about it today. I think Julie was equally delighted. And she said, you know what? I find that as we get older, it's a sign of maturity, is that we don't need an answer to all of our questions. Julie said that she believed that when we get to heaven, we will get the answers to all of our questions. And I said, well, Julie, I think that when we get to heaven, we're all going to have a good laugh about it. Julie seemed kind of startled and surprised, but delighted at that prospect. And she said, I certainly hope so. So whether you get to heaven and get all your answers or have a good belly laugh, I think that that's probably the most important takeaway. It was delightful to see Julie, and I think there were many interesting takeaways from our conversation, which was about everything and nothing, which is probably the best approach. As as I reflected on it, I was struck though by a number of different cautionary tales in the entire experience we've been through on our journey, on our journey of transition. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. If we can find the answers that we need to have in this earthly life, and the ones we can't find or discern ourselves, we can wait for those in the next life, and if we can have a good belly laugh, that's all for the better. The sermon at Washington National Cathedral was from Randy Hollerath, and he talked about his early days in divinity school and how studying divinity seemed to be somewhat counter to the popular culture of the late 80s, and how people recommended and suggested he go into computer science instead. But I have to say, I think Randy is happy with his choice and his role at Washington National Cathedral. Randy also talked about how every government has come and gone, but the reign of Jesus Christ continues on. At St. James Cathedral, they had a visit from St. Nicholas, who gave I think they thought it was cute presentation to the children. He had a bag of gold chocolate coins he was handing out, and he talked about the beginning of his ministry, the ministry of the original Saint Nicholas, and that he visited some young maidens who were not able to wed because they didn't have a dowry. They couldn't get married, and they couldn't have children because they didn't have any money. So St. Nicholas took it upon himself to drop gold coins into their stockings, allowing them to marry and have these children. I thought I appreciated that, but it's these fairy tales that continue to get repeated to children that they don't really put the best picture in people's minds that somehow women or anybody need to be empowered by money just so they can be entered into some kind of indentured servitude of some sort. And then he proceeded to give each of these kids, these children, two chocolate coins. He instructed them to keep one for themselves and give the other one to someone else. So again, I might have just had my critical thinking cap on this Sunday, but I thought, okay, so basically it's a message of Marxism. And our children are being indoctrinated into the Marxist idea that the state, represented by St. Nicholas, is in charge of distributing the capital, and then it's our role to share it. I definitely believe in the sharing part, and I do believe that we probably all can't earn our way in this world, but probably operationally and structurally, it's a better approach to think that our ways are probably better than the state's ways, and God's ways are certainly better than everyone's ways. If you'd like to join us at the Sunday Coffee Hour, we will try to keep the lid on the salacious topics. If you run into Julie Crabtree, be sure to invite her to join us. Sunday Coffee Hour is every Sunday at 12 noon Central Time. If you'd like to join us, I'll include my email in the description of this video, and I'll be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.